Hi, everybody, and welcome to our webinar. It's good to see people from all over the country, and greetings from Philadelphia. So I am the first Sue Renz, and I am the program director for the DNP program at Penn Nursing, of which we have several tracks that you'll hear about, two of them today. I am also the director of the primary care nurse practitioner programs at Penn Nursing, which are master's level programs, of which the primary care tracks are 6 in total. So it's good to see everybody. I'm a Penn alum ×2, and I have a DNP as well as a PhD, and I look forward to talking about the postmaster's track and taking questions at the end of the webinar. And I'll hand the baton to the other Sue.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sue Keim, and I'm the director of, we have 2 master's programs, one in nursing and healthcare administration and the other in health leadership. So I direct both of those master's programs, as well as I'm the director of the DNP and executive leadership track. So that specific track of the DNP program. I have also been at Penn for quite a while. I'm a vice chair in one of our departments, and I am also a Penn alum ×2, and join Sue in not only presenting this today, but welcoming your questions at the end of our program. So back to Sue.
So you'll probably hear us reference various tracks in the DNP program. Actually, the first DNP track that started at Penn Nursing was our anesthesia track, which is a post-baccalaureate track. But the first postmasters opened up, I'm going to say, either 3 or 4 years ago. And this is a track for people who've completed a master's degree in nursing. And the goal of that track is really to, expand on those skills that one has achieved through not only their master's programs, but also in practice and or in various types of management roles. And Sue will clarify a little bit more about what we mean by management roles and experience and the application to each of the tracks. The goal really is to, provide a curriculum that helps nurses, scholars to learn how to further translate evidence into clinical practice, really to conduct a scholarly project that leads to practice change within a specific practice area or a population of patients. Oh, it opened 3 years ago. It is a 10 CU 11 course program. We have a 2-year plan of study. It's approximately 2 courses per semester over 2 years. Students matriculate in the fall of their first year, and the content, the curriculum, is mostly asynchronous online learning with currently 2 on-campus intensives. And I say on campus, this year our intensive was actually virtual because of COVID, but there's an intensive that happens before students begin the coursework, and then the following year as they begin their second project course, which is focused on proposal writing. The program itself culminates in a DNP project. We call it a project, not a capstone. And these projects are usually completed in the student's place of employment. Next slide. Thanks. The admissions deadline, or the application deadline, the applications are currently open from July, and they close November 2nd. Once an application is submitted, invitations will be sent to applicants who would be invited for a virtual interview. We did that last year, and it was pretty successful to interview people so that they didn't have to travel to Philadelphia for an interview. Usually a pair of faculty that conduct these interviews. And then admission notifications, the latest by February of 2021 for matriculation into the cohort in August of 2021. Next slide. Okay. So you might wonder, there are many online programs around the country. It seems to be a format that is favorable to, doctoral types of students who are busy working professionals. Asynchronous learning is a format where course content is prepared in a modular format and opened, for a week or 3 weeks at a time, so that students really can pace their own learning in terms of meeting the course deliverables. So really the benefits of that are that there really aren't constraints of a time and a place. You don't have to tune in to class per se. You can work at your own pace. And what we tell students, and this is a frequent question, if you have an online course and if you're taking 2 courses a semester that offer 3 hours of content per week, it really requires about 9 hours of prep time. That's an average, reading and homework per week. So the format is there's content to view, whether they're videos or tutorials or voiceover PowerPoints. There's reading that needs to be done. And then there usually are on each, in each week, some type of deliverable, some type of assignment that is due to meet the requirements of that particular module. So approximately 9 hours per week per course. Next slide. And here's kind of a snapshot of our curriculum. I mentioned that it's a 10C, it's an 11 course, but 10 credit unit program. The core courses are listed on the left, and these are aligned with the AACN essentials that really are prescriptive for what type of content needs to be covered in a DNP program. And then there are 4 project courses of a total of 3 CUs where you go through a series of steps to complete a scholarly project, starting with the completion of an integrative review, which is in the first project course 851, a proposal phase, an implementation phase, and then the last course where you do your final presentation and have a plan for dissemination at the site where you're implementing your project and also to your cohort. Next slide. And this is a snapshot. I really like this slide. It gives you an idea of the plan of study. And so I had mentioned earlier that it's 2 courses per semester. So in the first semester, the 2 courses that would be taken are N790, which is the healthcare economics and business planning, and then the quality and safety course, followed by the epidemiology course and the leadership course. And then in the first summer, you can see that in addition to taking informatics, you would begin your first project course, which is called Translating Evidence into Practice. And it's about this time where you really start to take your project idea, the idea that you hopefully will write about in your admission, your application essays, where you really try to go into the evidence to see what type of evidence there is to support the implementation of a project based on the idea or the problem that you want to solve. In the second year, data analytics is taken concurrently with 852, the second project course, which is really the course to help you with developing and writing a proposal, and also your IRB application. In the spring, 853 is really the implementation phase of your project where you are collecting data. And then in the last summer, the finalization of your project and also taking the policy course as well. Next slide. I mentioned earlier that we have on-campus intensives, and hopefully in the near future, we'll be able to resume those intensives being on campus. Really the point of if you think about an online program, the benefits of an intensive are you get to meet all of the people that are responsible for making sure your studies at Penn are successful. And that includes not only the faculty, but all the great people in Office of Student Affairs and in the admissions department. And so students are required to come to campus. Again, it was virtual this year, where you meet your faculty, you start to network within your cohort, and you participate in workshops that are really geared to help you understand more about what is evidence-based practice, what are the resources available to you at Penn Nursing, including the library resources, and how to start to think about scholarly writing. The second summer intensive, again, a year later, you would get to meet with your project mentor. So each student that's in our program has a faculty mentor who's a School of Nursing faculty, and also would identify someone within your site as a site lead. And we'll talk about that more, once you're in the program. And the second intensive really focuses on building on preparatory content from the first project course to really launch into the second project course, which I mentioned was the proposal development. Next slide. Jamie, I don't know if you want to talk about the application requirements or if you want me to cover that.
Talk about them.
Go ahead.
So for this program, you need an MSN or master's degree in a nursing field. It does have to be in a nursing field. We are looking for a GPA of a 3.2 or higher, although we do have a holistic application process. We take into account all parts of the application, but in general, that's the general GPA we look for. You do need to take a graduate level research methods class, and that just needs to show up on your MSN transcript. There's nothing additional you need to do for that. And we're looking for a B or higher in that class. We need a copy of your RN, and if you are an APRN, we need a copy of that license as well, and you upload that into the application. That can be a scan of a paper copy, that can be a screenshot of what you get online. We'll take whatever your state issues. We have 2 different essay questions, and those prompts are available in the application. We require 3 letters of recommendation. We do like to see at least 1 academic reference. We know some of you might be a little far out from academia, but we can accept older references. So if you still keep in touch or you had a really strong relationship with a faculty member or advisor, we'll accept that. Or if you don't have a strong academic reference, perhaps you can find a professional reference who can speak to your academic abilities. Perhaps you did a research project or QI project in a position or job you had. We'd like to see a reference from your current supervisor, and then another professional reference. And you can submit up to 5 recommendations. We only require 3. You don't get extra points if you submit 5. This is just a nice option if you're deciding between some recommenders. We require transcripts from all institutions you attended for credit and a grade. So your BSN, your MSN, any additional degrees or courses completed, we do need to see transcripts. You can just upload your unofficial transcript into the application, and when you, let's think positively, when you are admitted and choose to accept our offer, then you'll submit official transcripts. If English is not your native language, or you went to an institution where English was not the primary language spoken, you need to submit the TOEFL or the IELTS.
So now this is Sue Keim talking, and I'm going to introduce you to the executive leadership track of our DNP program. So the aim of this program is to provide master's prepared nurses who already have some type of leadership experience with the executive level skills to lead organizational and systems level change. We're not being overly prescriptive about what leadership experience looks like, because we'd like to recruit a diverse student body, meaning that it could look something like someone who's been in a formal leadership or management role, but it also could mean nurse practitioners or other advanced practice registered nurses who have practice or program leadership responsibilities. And I'll talk a little bit more about the admission criteria in the future slides. So this is a newly launching track in our DNP program, and it's going to begin in fall of 2021. It's one course unit longer than the postmaster's program that Dr. Renz reviewed with you. And for those of you that are not enculturated to a course unit, which is the metric that Penn uses, you can think of one course unit as analogous to about 3 graduate credits, if you will. Similarly to the postmaster's DNP program, this is a 2-year plan of study. However, we will work with you should your plan need to change. And our application portal opened August 15th. And because it's a new program, we're keeping the application portal open longer. So although we will offer priority decisions for those that apply by November 2nd, meaning that we'll review those applications and then render some sort of admission decision before the end of December, probably by mid-December. But we'll keep the application portal open and we'll continue to entertain applications until February 1st of 21 on a rolling admissions basis, which means that you would start hearing from us as we've had the opportunity to review your application, schedule an interview if should that be warranted, and then conclude with an admission decision at the very latest would occur in mid-March of 2021, but could happen much sooner than that if you applied earlier. Also similar to the postmaster's DNP program, this is a mostly asynchronous online program with 2 on-campus intensives. So slightly different is that we will not be on campus for the first August. We will have a virtual orientation because we bring you on campus that first December, the first week in December, for one of the courses that we offer in collaboration with Wharton Executive Education. So it's an on-campus intensive in which you spend 4.5 days, so a Monday through a Friday afternoon, and with a couple of evening meetings as well, working and participating in the Wharton Nursing Leaders Program. And so that's offered the beginning of December. And then we'll join the postmaster's cohort in the 2nd August to ready you for your project proposal development, and also to offer you some design thinking content as well. So this curriculum, which I'll share with you shortly, you should know that we've now developed in concert with Wharton Executive Education, as I've mentioned, which includes not only the on-campus intensive of the Wharton Nursing Leaders Program, but also online modules offered and developed by Wharton and their faculty. And then we've also collaborated with the Perlman School of Medicine, who offers a healthcare innovation graduate program. And coursework will be offered in collaboration with that program as well in this track. And then in addition to that, of course, we'll not only have School of Nursing faculty working with you, but then healthcare leaders from across the industry, both inside and outside of Penn. This program also culminates with a DNP project that you can and ideally would complete in your place of employment. And I say that because number one, you know the culture, and you know the systems, if you will. So it provides you somewhat of an easier foray into some of the project deliverables, but also it gives you the opportunity to showcase your talents in your place of employment, and hopefully is a benefit to the organization as well. So kind of a win-win there. Next slide, please. So I've highlighted in reddish what are the courses that differ from the postmaster's track. So we share content in data analytics, quality improvement and patient safety, informatics, epidemiology, and health policy. And of course, we share the 4 project courses, which are 3 course units in total, because 2 of those courses are half-unit courses. But where we differ is that we offer a design thinking institute. We offer, instead of a leadership course, we're now offering a transformational leadership course. So it builds on what someone would have already skills that they would have already acquired either through a previous degree in leadership or through your leadership experience, which was requisite for this program. And that includes that Wharton Nursing Leaders Program. We also offer a course entitled Thriving in an Ever-Changing Healthcare Environment and an Executive Leadership and Complex Healthcare Systems course. Next slide, please. Here's what our plan of study looks like. Again, in red is what is unique to this program. So although the pace is approximately 2 courses or 2 course units a semester, as I've mentioned, we will work with you should you need to change that pace. Next slide. So the application requirements are the same as the Postmaster's DNP program, except for, so although you do need to be a nurse and have a bachelor's in nursing, you don't have to have a master's degree in nursing. You can have an MBA, for example, a master's in public health, a master's in healthcare administration. You certainly can have a master's in nursing, and that certainly can be in a clinical specialty, as long as you meet the next set of criteria, which is that you have at least 2 years of some sort of leadership experience and that you have fiscal management experience as well. So either either that you're managing an operating budget of sorts, or a program budget, or a practice budget, or if that's not the case, that you've had formal graduate coursework in finance or accounting. Of note, anyone who's on the call that is an are alumni from either our Masters of Nursing and Healthcare Administration or Health Leadership programs may be able to transfer in some of their graduate coursework in this program. That's not to say that others wouldn't have the ability to transfer in graduate coursework, but there's a process for us reviewing those courses after you're actually accepted into the program. Next slide, please. Again, I don't mean to be exclusionary, but if those are actually on the call or from Penn Medicine or the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, we do have a scholarship program of which you take 4 course units in a calendar year, and the 4th is free after you've paid for the first 3 in some fashion. But for all of you, we wanted to be transparent about what our tuition looks like. So for 1 course unit, that's the tuition rate. I think next slide might be our contact information. So if you had general mission questions, you can email that email address, and any specific DNP questions to either track, the Postmasters or the executive track, we man that DNP general email address, and then it's forwarded to the respective program director as necessary. So I think we've reached the Q&A portion of our program.
So if you have questions, if you wouldn't mind typing them in the chat box, and we can start answering them.
Jamie, there's a question for you about the application process online or through CAS.
It is, so Nancy's asking, the application is not through Nursing Cast. We have our own application process, which is available on our website. When you receive the email afterwards for this recording, you'll get a link to the application too.
I'm going to respond to Patricia. There are all different types of specialties represented in the Postmaster's DNP.
I'll answer the next one from, I don't know if that's Karen Benedict, but anyway, it's when does the application need to be completed? For the Postmaster's track, November 2nd. For the executive leadership track, Priority decisions are made for those that apply by November 2nd, which means you hear in December of 2020. But the application portal will remain open until February 1st of 2021, with applicants hearing on a rolling admission basis up until mid-March on the admission decision.
The first question, it might be buried now, from Antoinette. If you're an entrepreneur, are you able to apply your project to your business, or should it be a specific institution?
Sue, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I guess it would depend on the project. I mean, most of the projects are practice change or some type of systems change projects that are implemented at a place of employment. So I guess it's hard to answer that question without knowing a little bit more specifics.
I guess the takeaway message is that we would be open to exploring ways to make that work, if possible.
Yeah.
I will just move back to our slide with our contact information. Should you have specific questions, again, here are the 2 emails that you can contact.
I'll answer. I'm just seeing them scroll through here. The cohort sizes right now, like our last cohort that was admitted to the postmasters was 25. The year before there were 11. So they vary, and we are not sure what the executive leadership track is going to yield in terms of cohort size. Where do you stay for the intensives? There's housing, there's hotels in the Philadelphia area, right in University City, that our program manager, Lizzie Lee, can help students with making those arrangements.
And in the executive program, the first intensive, we offer the Steinberg Dietrich Conference Center, which is right on campus. Embedded in the Wharton program. Jamie, do you want to deal with our questions? So that we don't miss any of them. I think where I last saw that we were needing to answer a question from Michelle about scholarships and funding and that sort of thing.
Yes, so there's, Michelle's asking if, what options are there for scholarship funding from employers and other organizations if you're not a Penn Medicine employee.
And Sue answered Antoinette, but we have one from Steve Hams in the UK.
You do need to have a research course. So if you're anticipating applying to the either track, you should complete a research course, which you can transfer in the credit if it's meets the requirements of the courses at Penn.
The question I'm seeing, Sue, from Steve Hems has to do with being an international student. I was thinking Jamie can answer this with, does he need an RN license in the United States? I think he's basically asking.
You don't need a US license because you wouldn't, neither of these are practice degrees. So we would just need a copy of your license from the United Kingdom or wherever you're practicing.
And Evelyn has a question about the RN to MSN bridge in place of a BSN MSN.
So to clarify, both these programs require an advanced master's degree. So you cannot apply with just a direct entry MSN. You need to have an MSN in an advanced practice, specialty, an MSN in health leadership, administration, education, or for the executive DNP, you need to have an MSN similar to what I explained or a relevant master's degree. For the question about funding, this is a loan heavy program. I would check with your employer about what specific benefits they may offer. We do have some opportunities listed on our website. For example, there's the nurse faculty loan if you are interested in teaching either academically or clinically after graduation. You can have your loan forgiven. I think it's up to 85% if you teach for 4 years after graduation. And there are some other opportunities available as an applicant and also when you're a current student as well. There's a question about the DNP capstone. Claudia, I think I'm saying that maybe correctly, from Texas. Do we present the capstone online or do we present on campus?
It's done virtually.
There's a question from Michelle about a fee waiver. We are currently offering a fee waiver only for the Executive Leadership DNP if you apply by tomorrow, October 15th. If you are, we understand you might be experiencing financial hardship this year. So if you are applying to the Postmaster's DNP and you are experiencing financial hardship, email us at the admissions email.
There's a question about having an MPH and leadership experience, but then potentially pursuing I think it's a mental health nurse practitioner program later. The order to which you do that is fine. That's totally your purview. You certainly could, with an MPH and having leadership experience and fiscal management experience, be a candidate for the Executive Leadership DNP. And then you could pursue your mental health nurse practitioners via certificate program or perhaps even a second master's degree later. Absolutely. So you would meet the criteria.
There's a question for the Postmaster's DNP, where have graduates gone on to work? I'm interested in understanding alumni options for employment after the DNP.
I'm letting Sue answer that, right?
Say that I was reading the chat, but go ahead. Ask me that again.
It's a question from Jen for the Postmaster's DNP, where have graduates gone on to work?
Well, a lot of them continue to work where they've worked previously and assume different roles within the organization, whether it's a management role or a lot have decided to go into education as well, which many of my DNP cohort were choosing that path. So they stayed in practice, but that they really wanted to get into education. So it just depends. And also what opportunities are available within their places of employment.
There's a question, what are the different cohort sizes for both DNP programs?
I had mentioned that the first cohort, this year's cohort for Postmasters was 20. We actually accepted 27. 3 students deferred because of COVID and other circumstances. So we had 24 matriculate. The year before there were 11. So it just depends on the applicant pool and people meeting the requirements of the application.
I'll answer for the other track. The Postmasters DNP and Executive Leadership, we're aiming for our initial cohort to really be around 15 students. We might go as high as 20, but probably are going to stay somewhere in the range of 15 to 20 is what we're aiming. I'm going to answer the next question too, which is because I think, Sue, you're the 2 intensives that are for the Postmasters program tend to be 2 days in length tops, maybe even 1 day, correct? With
That's
one
correct.
virtual or something. Yes. So if Nancy is maybe alluding to the 4+ days that I mentioned, which were part of the first intensive for the executive leadership track, you would stay at the Steinberg Dietrich Conference Center, which is right on Penn's campus. It's part of Wharton, where the program itself will be held and where you'll be fed. Fantastic food, I may add.
There's a question about a project topic. We're starting the journey to Magnet. Could I do a project that is concurrent with this endeavor?
Perhaps. Again, you know, most of the projects that are done within places of employment are evidence-based practice or quality improvement types of projects. So if that is something that would be aligned with, you know, a Magnet goal, that definitely could apply.
I'm going to add that we don't ask that by the time of application, really, that you are really well, you don't have need to have a well-formed project. Of course, you'll want to start having discussions about your project early on with faculty and program leadership. And you want to have some idea of things that interest you that align with the goals for a DNP program, which is really related to taking existing evidence of some sort and translating that to improve practice or a practice environment or systems level, you know, workflow and the like. But so that being said, you don't have to be, it doesn't have to be really completely well formed. And in fact, it'll probably be evolutionary as you dig into learning a little bit more about the evidence related to the topic you're interested in.
Right. Someone asked about the online platform. We use Canvas right now, and I find Canvas an easy platform to use. I think that student feedback has been positive about it. Previous to that, it was Blackboard, and I think that Canvas has more features than Blackboard. And Sue, do you have any opinions about one over the other or feedback?
About Canvas?
Yeah.
I found both platforms to work, but Canvas is what Penn has adapted, so that's what we utilize. And I find it to be very reliable, and particularly as we've added all various online platforms that we're using, which we use quite a few. So I like Canvas personally and find it pretty reliable. Looks like there's a question about if someone doesn't have research course in their master's degree, what is the recommendation? So the recommendation would be to either take a course at Penn. So we offer some online research courses that you could take as a special student without having matriculated in a program yet. Or you certainly could look for research courses outside of Penn, and the extent to which you need any assistance with vetting those, you can reach out to either our admissions or a DNP general email, and we could take a look and kind of map that to see whether it would meet the criteria for a graduate research degree. So we're happy to help in that regard. There's another question from Nancy about what is your ideal candidate for the DNP-EL? And I think we already answered the question about, yes, we do have a nurse faculty loan program. And the ideal candidate, we said a minimum of 2 years, ideally someone who has 5 years of leadership experience. But again, that doesn't mean someone with only 2 years is not an ideal candidate. It's someone that demonstrates leadership experience and has some acumen in fiscal management, either through their personal work experience or through taking a graduate level course in that regard. So, you know, we have a holistic approach to our admissions process. So we look at, you know, the caliber of your essays, we look at your letters of recommendation. If you're invited for an interview, we take the interview results very seriously. So, you know, we look at the entire package and not just quantifying. If someone has more leadership experience, it doesn't mean they're a more ideal candidate than someone who has less, but a minimum of 2 years.
And Jamie, there are two questions about if students or applicants are waiting to either hear about or matriculate into the program, or can they take a course as a special student to get a head start?
Yes, you can apply as a non-degree student and take up to 2 courses as a special non-degree seeking student.
There's a question from Toronto about applying to the DNP EL program and not being employed in the United States. Can they implement a project at another organization? And the question is yes. If in fact you're planning to move here, then we would work with you to place you in with a preceptor in an organization and work on your project there. And then someone else asked about if they already took the Wharton Nursing Leaders Program for continuing education in the past. Would you need to repeat it again? No, you would not. We would, however, work with you. First of all, it would depend on how long ago you took the program, because the program has changed in the last few years. But I would be happy to look at when you took it and discuss different options instead. We have other plans for recognizing that some will have already attended the program. We may offer you a different Wharton Executive Ed program or a program through the Healthcare Innovation Program, but we will assure it's not redundant to what you've already completed. Do you have to have budget experience to apply for the executive leadership? You do have to have some sort of budgetary experience or have taken coursework at the graduate level. If you are questioning the coursework at the graduate level, I will also say we offer this spring a course in healthcare accounting and business planning that is offered online this semester. So you could, if you needed to, either take a course with us or you could take a course elsewhere, but I'm going to go back to, it's a good idea to have a conversation with us to assure that it would meet the requirements.
There's a question, Jamie, if they don't have an academic reference, who else would be an ideal reference?
So if there's someone who can speak to your ability to succeed in a rigorous academic environment, that would be ideal. Again, I mentioned before, perhaps you did some sort of research, QI, any sort of project that might have required, again, scholarly writing or research skills, communication skills, anything like that. Skills that would be applicable in an academic environment. That's who can write your recommendation.
And also, are the letters of recommendation submitted by the applicant, or is a link sent to the recommender?
So you'll register your recommenders in our application system, and a link will be sent with that to them by email with a short form for them to fill out, and they'll be able to upload their letter of recommendation.
There's a question about the leadership experience and the length required. We are really looking for those that have at least a couple of years of leadership experience, which means that even if you're working as a nurse practitioner, that you need to have had some practice leadership, meaning you're overseeing a program that maybe has some budgetary accountability as well. Otherwise, you might think about the postmaster's DNP instead, or take coursework in fiscal management, and we could help you with that as you build your leadership experience.
I would say the recommenders do not have to be doctorally prepared. Quite often, the recommendation from a supervisor at work is not someone who's doctorally prepared, but the majority of the, at least the letters I've looked at are from usually doctorally prepared faculty within an academic institution, or a colleague, a physician, if you will, or another nurse practitioner for those who are in practice.
There's a question about if you're not a Penn alum, but you have a master's in nursing and a master's of science and administration, how many transfer credits are provided So after you're accepted, so I'm going to go the same route as Jamie, will be positive in that regard. So after accepted, there is a mechanism for you to request that you have certain courses be reviewed for transfer credit, and that would be up to 2 courses if you're outside of the Penn system. So it would really just depend on whether it mapped to then the doctoral level courses that we're offering. Antoinette asked a question about, does that funding option apply if you're an adjunct faculty member as well? Jamie, do you know what funding option she's referring to?
I believe she's referring to the nurse faculty loan program. I know your teaching has to add up to full time. So if you're full time at, well, I think that's an oxymoron. I would reach out to our financial aid office, and they should be able to help. And I'll paste the email in here.
And having both Sue Renz and I both are recipients of a nurse faculty loan. So I can tell you that basically it doesn't mean that you need to be employed today as a faculty member, and certainly not even while you're in the program. What it means is that you apply, and usually you apply for the program through the educational organization. So for Penn, in our case, you would apply if there was an available nurse faculty loan. And then when you finish the program, so when you graduate, you can apply for a deferral for a year while you hopefully get employed then in a faculty position. And then if you're in a full-time faculty position and you can demonstrate that on a yearly basis, a portion of your loan is forgiven up to a total of 85%. And then after 4 years, the 15% remaining would be due. So it's basically an 85% forgiveness loan if you are employed as a full-time faculty member a year after you've graduated from your program. That's, don't hold me to those numbers because things could change, but that's the rough overview of what the program has typically looked like. My understanding, but again, this would be through your application, that's prorated if you're a part-time faculty member. So you wouldn't get as much of the loan forgiveness if you were not working full-time.
That's correct.
There's a question about, I work closely with our director of finance. This is from Kristen. So I don't directly handle our department or staffing budget, but would you accept rationale of how I may still have experience and or justification for the finance prerequisite? I will always entertain rationale and justification. So that would be certainly happy to have a conversation to discuss that further. And you can reach out to the DNP general email and remind me of that. And I'm happy to respond individually about that.
Sue, someone was asking for graduates from the admin program, what courses would be transferred in and what would they replace?
So again, it depends what year you graduated from the admin program because curricula are evolutionary. So, but if it was in the last few years, the health policy course, the health informatics course, and I'd have to look at the other one. Why is it escaping me? Health informatics for sure, health policy, and let me just check on the other one while you're entertaining a different question, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Speak out of turn.
I'm looking.
Oh, got it. I don't know why I forgot this. So I guess because I teach one of the classes, so that's not good. The other course that's actually accepted. So for those of you that were in the nursing administration program, for example, you would have taken a course in systems thinking and patient safety and another course in quality improvement. Those 2 courses in combination meet the requirement for the patient safety quality improvement course in the DNP program, one of the core courses. So again, I will work with individuals and look at their transcripts. We all do this. Sue does this as well. We do a gap analysis and take a look at whether or not, as we develop your plans of study, whether anything seems to be either completely redundant and you are an alum, or coursework that looks similarly, in which case we would go through a review process to award transfer credit.
I am pasting in the chat, excuse me, the chat box. I see Donna asked about more information about the nurse faculty loan program. There is some information on our website about external scholarships and grants, and a little further up, which I'll recopy, is the email to our financial aid office for specific questions. So the nurse faculty loan program and some other loan programs is something you'd pursue once you were admitted here.
So I see a few other questions. One was related, do I have to have a license as an APRN? Well, this is a postmaster's program. If you have an MSN, then you don't need to be licensed to complete the postmaster's in the DNP program. Is that true, Sue?
That's true.
Yes. And that would certainly be the case for the executive leadership track. The question about, is there a difference in the CU requirements for the postmaster's DNP and the executive leadership program? Yes, there is. The executive leadership track is 1 CU longer. And a couple of courses differ, but it's 1 CU longer in length. If you've already submitted your application and changed your idea on your DNP project, then what you originally stated in your essay, that's completely fine.
Yeah.
If you took a research course in an MSN program, that likely meets the requirement for the research prerequisite. Are there courses that can be taken while waiting for the program to start? Yes, it is absolutely possible to take. You'd have to work with us on applying as a special student,
Yeah.
which is a pretty simple process. And you could take a couple of the courses are offered more than one term. So we could advise you on a possible course and whether there's an opening or a seat in that class.
And let me just add to that, because Jamie did cover that, if you're interested in that, the admissions email is on this slide that's in front of you, to email them about the process to apply as a special student.
Got you.
There's also a question. I took the graduate level research course from my MSN program 8 or 9 years ago. Yes, we will accept that course. And I think this last question is a good question to end on, since we're at 1 o'clock. While I meet the leadership and fiscal management requirements, is there any benefit to the executive versus postmaster's program?
I guess I'll answer that. It depends on your goals. The focus of the tracks is a little bit different, but it's really for not only based on someone's experience, but what they bring to the application, but also what your career goals are within your organization. My email is srenz@nursing.upenn.edu. So it's SRENZ@nursing.upenn.edu.
And mine is, I'm going to type it in the chat box right now. Oops, I just chatted it privately by mistake. Hold on, it's coming in a second. I was responding to someone else. Here it comes. And I would just add, I completely agree with Sue's response about, is there a benefit to one program versus the other? Yes, I think, it really depends on your overall goals. If you're interested in systems or executive level leadership and you meet the requirement, and then that might be the beneficial track for you. You can see the difference and can compare the difference in the curriculum to see if some of that coursework speaks to you in a different way. So there's certainly overlap. There's just some different level of leadership content than you would experience in each of these degrees, each of these, yes, tracks. If your long-term goal is academic leadership, you know, again, I think you can make the case for either. I think it's really what coursework speaks to you. And, you know, and then I think you utilize the project piece of that as well to really further develop your, you know, more of an in-depth work in what will position you for academic leadership.
I can say on a personal level, when I was in my program, and I, as a practicing nurse practitioner, you know, I really, and with a goal of continuing to teach nurse practitioners, the postmaster's DNP program that I attended at NYU really helped me to understand really how to translate evidence into practice. And so I felt like it was what I needed to become a better educator. You know, certainly, in both Sue and I have pursued PhDs. That gives you a different view of evidence as well, and research, which helps in the classroom as well. And both of us are program directors. So I think, you know, I agree with Sue. It could be, you could either direction. And you'll get stuck with one of us, one Sue.
I would say if you're just going to get a little deeper into leadership content in the executive leadership program.
Yeah.
The other thing I will say, you know, you're always welcome to take more coursework when you're here at Penn, and Sue and I are certainly guilty of being professional students, but we do have at Penn, what we call a teacher education program, or a transformational nursing education program. It's a 3U certificate program. You are welcome to embed that into your DNP plan of study. You are welcome to take that before or after. I did a similar program at Hopkins before I came to Penn. I thought it was foundational to my teaching. And you can either take the entire certificate program, which also prepares you for professional development preparation, or you can focus on 2 of the courses which focus on academic teaching. So again, once you're at Penn, and that's another advantage of coming to Penn for those that haven't been here, we sit within a resource intensive university, and we have lots of different course offerings, not only within the School of Nursing, but across the campus. And so for those of you that want to enrich your plan of study in different ways, we can help you with that as well.
Penn Law. Yay.
Yay, that's right, Sarah, Penn Law. Sarah's one of our alum and combined a master's in nursing with a master in law.
All right. Well, I think that's a great place to end. Thank you very much for everyone for taking some time out of your day to listen to this presentation. Thank you to both Dr. Renz and Dr. Keim for your time. You'll receive an email in the next few days with the recording. Good luck with your applications if you're applying this year, and we look forward to reviewing your applications.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Be well.